Things Colombia does better than the United States. Let me start by saying something that might get me in trouble with some Americans. There are some things Colombia simply does better than the United States.
Fool this man!
Now, before somebody gets in the comments saying, you can't compare Colombia to America, hear me out. I'm not saying Colombia is better at everything. It definitely isn't. And I'm not saying the United States doesn't have things that Colombia could improve on, but after spending a lot of time in Colombia, I've noticed some things that make me stop and say, why don't we do this more in the United States? So today, we're talking about the things Colombia does better than the United States.
Now, what do you boys have for me today?
And I'm interested to know if Colombians agree with me or if I'm about to get roasted in the comments. Let's get into it. Family and community. The first thing Colombia does extremely well is family and community.
We're family.
Family is a huge part of everyday life here. It's common to see multiple generations staying connected, eating together, visiting each other, and actually making time for one another. In the United States, everybody is busy. Work, school, bills, traffic, appointments. Everybody has their own schedule. Sometimes you can live in the same city as your family and still go weeks without seeing them. In Colombia, there seems to be more of an expectation that family is supposed to be part of your everyday life, and I really appreciate that. You see people sitting outside talking with neighbors. You see families getting together for meals. You see people checking on each other. There is a stronger sense of we're in this together, and honestly, I think America could learn something from that. Or social life. Another thing Colombia does better is socializing. Colombians know how to enjoy themselves. You don't necessarily need an expensive vacation, a reservation at a fancy restaurant, or a $200 night out. Sometimes it's just music, food, friends, family, and conversation. People can turn an ordinary day into an event.
Okay. Yo! Party in this house!
And I think that's something Americans sometimes forget. In the United States, entertainment can become expensive very quickly. Dinner, drinks, concerts, parking, Uber, tickets. Before you know it, you've spent hundreds of dollars just trying to have a good time. In Colombia, you can often have a great evening without spending a fortune. And sometimes the best nights are the ones that weren't even planned. Saying food with fresh ingredients. Now let's talk about food. Colombia has some incredible food, and one thing I really appreciate is the availability of fresh ingredients.
That's just freshness.
Fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, fresh juices, fresh seafood, fresh bread, and depending on where you are in the country, you have access to completely different regional foods. And let's talk about fruit for a second. The variety here is crazy. Mango, maracuya, guava, papaya, lulo, guanabana, coconut, and so much more. You can walk into a local market and see things that would cost significantly more in many parts of the United States. And the flavors are different when you're getting them locally and in season. Sis. Coffee culture. Here's another one that's probably going to make people debate. Coffee culture. Colombia is famous around the world for coffee. But what's interesting is that coffee isn't just a product here. It's part of the culture. Coffee can be a reason to sit down and talk, a reason to visit somebody, a part of your morning, a part of your afternoon. And of course, Colombia produces some of the world's most famous coffee.
I'd love some of your coffee, please.
But there's something else I like about the culture around it. It's not always about getting your coffee as quickly as possible so you can run back to work. Sometimes you actually sit down, you talk, you relax, you enjoy the moment. And that brings me to the next thing. 5, taking time to enjoy life. I think Colombia does something that Americans can struggle with. Slowing down. America is built around productivity. What are you doing? Where are you going? How much money are you making? What's next? What's the next promotion? What's the next business? What's the next goal? And there's nothing wrong with ambition, but sometimes you need to sit down and enjoy where you are. In Colombia, you'll see people sitting outside, talking, eating, drinking coffee, listening to music, or simply enjoying each other's company. Life doesn't always have to feel like a race. And honestly, that's one of the things I really enjoy about being here. Street life and public spaces. Another thing Colombia does well is creating lively public spaces. Walk through certain neighborhoods and you'll see people outside.
I love it here.
Restaurants spilling onto sidewalks. Street vendors, music, kids playing, people talking, people walking. There is energy. In cities like Cartagena, Barranquilla, Medellin, and many smaller communities have their own personality. In some American cities, you can walk down a street and barely see anybody. You get in your car, you drive somewhere, you park, you go inside, then you drive home. In Colombia, life can feel more connected to the street. And I think there's something special about that. Public transportation accessibility now. This one needs some context. I'm not saying Colombian transportation is perfect. It definitely isn't. But one thing Colombia does well in many cities is making public transportation a realistic part of everyday life.
You have buses, you have taxis, you have trains.
Buses, taxis, motorcycles, and other transportation options can make it possible for people to get around without owning multiple vehicles. And in cities with larger transportation systems, you have different options depending on where you need to go. In the United States, outside of major cities, having a car can feel almost mandatory, and cars are expensive. Payment, insurance, gas, maintenance, repairs, registration, parking, the cost adds up quickly. So having multiple ways to get around can be a major advantage. 8. Hospitality. Let's talk about hospitality. Colombians are often very welcoming, and when you're a visitor, you can feel that. People are curious about where you're from.
So, tell me about yourself.
They want to know what you think about Colombia. They'll recommend restaurants. They'll tell you where to go. They'll tell you what not to do. And sometimes they'll invite you into their world. Of course, not every person is going to be friendly. Every country has good people and bad people. But overall, I've experienced a level of warmth here that I really appreciate. And if you're respectful toward people and the culture, you'll often get that respect back. So, outdoor living, here's another big one. Colombia's ability to enjoy the outdoors. You've got Caribbean beaches, mountains, rivers, waterfalls, national parks, tropical environments, and some incredible landscapes. You can go from a major city to nature without necessarily traveling halfway across the country. And the weather in many areas makes outdoor activities possible throughout much of the year. If you're someone who enjoys hiking, beaches, walking, fishing, boating, or just being outside, Colombia gives you a lot of options, and that's something I really appreciate. 10. Celebrating culture. And finally, Colombia knows how to celebrate its culture. Music, dance, food, carnivals, festivals, neighborhood celebrations, family gatherings. Colombians don't just preserve culture, they live it, and you can see that everywhere. From the Caribbean coast to the interior of the country, every region has its own identity. Barranquilla has Carnival. Cartagena has its Caribbean culture and history. Medellin has its own traditions and celebrations. The different regions have different foods, accents, music, and personalities. And that's one of the things that makes Colombia so interesting. But let's be fair. Now, I don't want anybody watching this video to think I'm saying Colombia is perfect. It isn't. There are things the United States does better. There are things Colombia could improve: healthcare, infrastructure, wages, public safety,
Is it safe?
bureaucracy, and other issues can be very different depending on where you live. Every country has strengths and weaknesses. That's actually the point of this video. Sometimes we spend so much time talking about what another country doesn't have that we forget to appreciate what it does have. And Colombia has a lot going for it. So those are some of the things I believe Colombia does better than the United States. But now I want to hear from you. If you're Colombian, what did I miss? What's something Colombia does better than the United States that should have been on this list? And if you're American, what's something you think the United States does better? Let's have the conversation in the comments. And if you're enjoying these Colombia videos, make sure you subscribe, because we're going to keep exploring Colombia from both sides: the good, the bad, the expensive, the affordable, the beautiful, and everything in between. Until next time, stay safe, keep exploring, and I'll see you on the next side quest.